This video covers retest review 9 over graphing linear equations and inequalities. So first they ask us to graph 5x plus 4y is greater than negative 12. So I'm going to solve for y in order to graph. So I'm going to move 5x to the other side. So I've moved 5x. And then I'm going to divide everything by 4. So I'm going to begin at negative 3 on this graph. So I start down at negative 3 and then move negative 5/4. So I'm going to go down 5 to the right 4. I can also go up 5 and to the left 4. Now this line is going to be dashed or dotted, meaning that there's going to be some spaces in between the line. And then however your teacher taught you to graph is how you need to graph. My students have y is greater than negative 3. Greater than goes above negative 3 on the y-axis. So above on the y-axis goes here. So I will shade where that axis goes above. You could also test the point 0, 0. So if you plug in 0, you would get 0 is greater than negative 3. And see that you would shade that because this is true. So whichever way your teacher taught you to shade is how you need to shade. So the next one, they've asked us to graph x is less than negative 3. So we have just one letter here, which makes this a special case. This one is specifically going to be a vux, so the slope is going to be undefined. I'm going to go where x is negative 3 and put a dot. This line is going to be dashed or dotted because there's no line underneath the inequality. And then x is less than negative 3. Less than on the x's goes to the left. So I will shade in the left side. You could also pick an x, say negative 10, and see if that would work. Is negative 10 less than negative 3? The answer is yes, so you shade there. Problem 3, graph y is greater than or equal to 6. What is the slope? This one also has one letter, so this would be a Hoy equation. Hoys have a slope of 0. I will go to where y is 6 and draw a dot. This one is going to be a horizontal line. It will be a solid horizontal line because there is a line under the inequality. And greater than 6 are numbers like 7, 8, 9, and 10. So greater than goes above the line in this case. Problem 4, graph the inequality y is less than 2x. Some people struggle with where to begin, so if you need to add a plus 0 to remind yourself you start at 0, then go for it. My move slope is 2, so I'm going to go up to right 1, up to right 1, up to right 1. This line is going to be dashed because there's no line under the inequality, so I'll do a couple dashed lines. And then y is less than 0. Less than 0 are anything in the negatives. So negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. Negatives go below the line, so we will shade underneath the line. And then I have already identified that my m value, or my slope, is 2 because that's with x. Problem 5, they asked me to solve and graph this system of inequalities. So I'm going to graph this one first because it's already solved. I will begin at negative 5, and then move 3. So begin at negative 5. Then I will move 2, not 3, 2. So I will go up to right 1, up to right 1, up to right 1 a couple of times. This line is going to be dashed because there's no line under the inequality. Remember, the direction the arrow points has nothing to do with the type of line, but everything to do with the shading. Y is less than negative 5. Less than negative is more negative, so anything down here. So my shading will go down below the line. Anything underneath it. For the second equation, I need to solve for y. Alternatively, you could solve for both of your intercepts, your x and y intercept, by setting each one 4x would be greater than or equal to negative 12 and negative 3y would be greater than or equal to negative 12, and solve both of them for those respective pieces and graph accordingly. I will then divide by negative 3. Because I have divided by a negative, I'm going to flip my inequality symbol. So I will begin at 4 and move 4/3. So I start at 4 and go up 4, right 3. I can also go down 4 and left 3. This line is going to be a solid line because there is a line underneath the inequality. And y is less than or equal to 4. Less than 4 would be below 4. So everything underneath the blue line would be shaded, including that black line. Now keep in mind, my solution set is anything in this little trapezoid. This is where my solutions would be. Anything in the blue and black area. 6 asked me to write the inequality represented by this graph. So this graph begins at 2. It has a slope that goes, let's see, down 1, 2, 3, right 1, 2. So negative 3/2 x. And then comparing my y's are going above 2, so my y's are getting greater than 2. And it is a dashed line, so it would not have a line underneath the inequality. Okay, so problem 7, which inequality best represents the graph shown. So these are your answer choices. I haven't changed anything, but my paper didn't match yours. So when I look at all of these answer choices, all of them start at 5. All of them have the same slope. The only difference is the inequality signs. So when I'm looking at this line, the first thing I can see is that it's a solid line. So there's no way it could be B or C because of the inequality symbol. Now, I need to determine, is this a less than or greater than? So we start at 5, and we're shading less than. So y needs to be less than or equal to 5, which is answer choice D. Problem 8, they've asked me to use the grid to graph y is less than x plus 4, and what is the solution? So I begin at 4, move 1. So I start at 4 and go up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1 a couple of times. This line is a dashed line, but because the points really matter, I'm going to make sure I am very meticulous in this specific example. Also, I don't have an ID to be specific with. And then for my shading, y is less than 4. Less than is anything below 4. Or you could point test 0, 0 to see where your shading goes. So these points, A is negative 8, 2, which is there. That would not be an option. B is 2, 0. That could be an option. C is negative 2, 2. Now notice that is on the line, but the line is dashed, so it doesn't matter. D is 0, 6, which is not in my shaded area. So B is the only one in my shaded area. 9 is a review. What is the slope and y-intercept of the graph shown? So my slope, we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. So my slope is down 5, right 4. And then my b value, this crosses the y-axis at a negative 3.